All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Fall 2025 Showcase, Speech Showcase. It is, yes, applause. You might want to hold on that applause. There's going to be a lot of moments for applause in the next couple of minutes, so prepare that. My name is Dr. Elaine Schnabel. I'm an assistant professor in the communication department. And we are so glad that so many of you are here and willing to spend your evening celebrating the top speakers in the department this year. As educators, we often, daily, arguably get to see how brilliant and educated and smart and energetic and creative our students are. And so it is a true honor for us to get to facilitate you seeing just a tiny portion of that tonight. But before we get to that, we like to begin the event by acknowledging all the people who have made both tonight and the excellence that happens in the communication department happen at all. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging Dr. Leslie Durham, the interim president of Weber State University, here tonight. Thank you. I'm not sure where he is, but Mark Halverson, the vice president of administrative services. Yep. Dr. Ann Bialawis, Chair of the Department of Communication. Dr. Sarah Steimel, the Associate Dean of the Lindquist College of Arts and Humanities. And is Allison Barlow Hess here? You will be seeing more of her later tonight, but she's the former Public Relations Director at Weber State University. Another group of people that you need to know about is the Speech Selection Committee. These are folks associated with the communication department and the university in some capacity who have some excellence or expertise in speech communication, persuasion, rhetoric. And these folks committed, I believe last Saturday, an entire morning of their time to listening to all of our fabulous student speakers and winnowing the pool down to the 6 that you will hear tonight. So I'm going to read off a short list of names if those folks can wave their hands. Everyone else, you guys can kind of hold your applause till the end of the list. So on that selection committee was Dr. Ann Bialawis, Chair of the Department of Communication, Dr. Jean Norman, Professor in our Department of Communication and the advisor for the Signpost, Dr. John Trimble, Professor of Spanish in the Department of World Languages and Culture, Amir Jackson, Director of Development in the Lindquist College of Arts and Humanities and a former TEDx Ogden speaker, as was Dr. John Trimble, excuse me. And finally, Christopher Lowry, who was a finalist last year in the 2024 Students Speech Showcase as well. Let's give those folks a round of applause. So 3 months ago, when tonight's speakers started their first day of COM 1020, they met their instructors, and that's who we're going to honor next. Anyone, and that includes ChatGPT these days, can write a speech, am I right? But it's pretty hard to write a good speech and to write a good speech and perform it well. And our COM 1020 professors are the people who encourage and mentor and teach and offer expertise and empathy to some folks who are often quite terrified of public speaking. And so we want to honor the work that they do. So if you have taught COM 1020 either this semester or ever throughout the history of Weber State University, please stand up, and we are going to give you a round of applause. All right, so this is the 15th, I'm pretty sure, Brent, by iteration of the Speech Showcase. It's an event we do every spring and fall semester to celebrate excellence in public speaking at Weber State. But I want to make sure you all recognize how competitive it is for the folks who are here tonight to have reached this point. So this semester at Weber State, we had 650 students enrolled in public speaking. That's 27 different sections of roughly 25 students in each section. Each section then votes for who, after they've listened to all the speeches throughout the entire semester, who is their best, most compelling, most persuasive public speaker. And that person came last Saturday to the Speech Selection Showcase. Before our top 6 speakers give their speeches tonight, we're going to honor the 19 students who were the top speaker in their individual COM 1020 classes. So for this, I need Anne and Sari to come to the front so we can recognize our speech showcase representatives. I believe for this one, I'm going to call these folks one by one, and because they got to walk forward, we should have time for a little bit of applause while they get a picture with our department chair. So we will begin with Tristan Montgomery. Next is Paul Barnard. Christian Bingham. Presley Fuchs. Boyd Griffiths. Tyler Hall. Olivia Kapp. Avery Leffler. Lucy Matthews. Ephraim McKenna. Mia Allen. John Murdoch. Micah Ortega. Sadie Parkin. Juliana Rodriguez. Kennedy Romney. Alyssa Song. And Letalia Tuiaki. Let's get one more round of applause for all of our finalists. All right, so I am under instructions to vamp slightly just to give a little bit of time to get folks mic'd up. So I'm going to start with just reminding you all to silence cell phones. And maybe just take this moment to check your texts now, check your Snapchats, all the above, yada, yada. Get it out of your system because we have 6 excellent speakers who are going to enthrall you for the next few minutes. And I want you all to be able to enjoy the hard work that they've put in for the last few months.
Elaine. We're good.
All right, let me introduce our first speaker tonight. Presley Fuchs is a junior, and she studies psychology. She also loves her family and enjoys dance. She is here to give the presentation or speech, Stepping into a Silent World.
Hi, I'm Presley. Okay, so can anyone tell me what I just said? So raise your hand if you're feeling a little bit confused. Well, deaf people feel this way all the time because they live in a world full of communication, but one that they can't access. By the end of this, I hope you can remember 3 things about the deaf culture. 1, deafness is not a disability, just a difference. 2, deaf culture is misunderstood, and if we learn about it, we can raise awareness. And 3, learning sign language, even just a few signs, can really show respect and build connection. So starting with the first one, deafness is not a disability, just a difference. Many people think of deafness as something that needs to be fixed through hearing aids or cochlear implants, but deaf people see it differently, as not something that needs to be cured, but rather just a different way of living and communicating. There's a famous quote within the deaf community that goes, "Deaf people can do anything hearing people can do, except hear." A perfect example of this quote is Niall DeMarco. Niall is fully deaf, and you want to hear something pretty impressive? He won Dancing with the Stars season 22. Can you believe that? While he was on the show, he stated that he could feel the vibrations from the music, and that's how he was able to stay on beat and do what he needed to do. This shows that deafness is not about what someone lacks, rather just a different way of living and communicating. The second point is that deaf culture is misunderstood, and if we learn about it, we can raise awareness. I think the main reason to this is because it really just isn't talked about enough. For me, this changed when my little brother was born hard of hearing. This is Madden, and he's actually in the audience with us here tonight. Madden, you want to stand up? Right here. Madden, can you show everyone your favorite sign? Oh, okay, well, he just did 6'7". He loves to make people laugh, so I'm not surprised by that at all. Can you do a real sign? Okay, thank you. He did, if you couldn't see, he did this. This is a sign for dragon. He loves those right now. Anyway, when he was born, my family and I started to learn sign language so that we could better communicate with him. This is what first opened my eyes to deaf world. Then I started working with deafblind individuals, and I am now with them every single day, and they have shown me so much about their culture, their struggles, and it has made me want to make a difference within their community, as well as raise awareness. So does anyone in here know someone who is deaf? Okay, I'll share a story. A few years ago, I went to Disneyland with my dance team, and we were trying to find a spot for fireworks. And if any of you have been to Disneyland during fireworks, you know how crazy it is. We were weaving through the crowds, and I saw a man up ahead, and he seemed very frustrated and frantic, and apparently we had separated him from his daughter by walking right down the middle of them. As I got closer, I noticed that he was deaf and that he was using sign language and trying to get someone's attention. Because of my awareness in his culture and that I knew sign language, I was able to communicate with him, explain the situation, and apologize. This brings us to our third point, that learning sign language, even just a few signs, can really show respect and build connection. Sign language is its own language. It is not just English on our hands. It follows its own grammar. It doesn't have a sign for every single word like English, and it relies heavily on body language and facial expression. So just by a raise of hand, does anyone in here know sign language? Okay, all right, perfect. Well, I want to teach you all just a few basic signs that will help you hold a beginner conversation, and I'll ask that you do them with me. First one is hello and goodbye. You all should know this one. You just wave. Yep, perfect. Next is yes and no. So you're going to take your dominant hand in a fist and nod your hand and your head. Like I said, body language is very important. Next is no. You'll do this hand shape and you'll tap it twice. And then can anyone guess what we do with our head? Yep, shake it, no. Perfect. All right, next is thank you. So you'll take your dominant hand again, bring it to your chin on the top of it, and then you'll bring it out. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, a few phrases. First phrase is nice to meet you. So you'll take your non-dominant hand and put it out in front of you. Dominant's going to go on top, and you're going to slide it away from you. This is a sign for nice. Then you're going to take your dominant hand, put it close to your chest with the palm facing away from you. Other hand is going to be the same motion, palm together with the other one. Then you're going to just meet your hands together. Sign for meet. So it goes, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Next one is how are you? So you'll take 2 thumbs up, put your knuckles together, and turn your dominant hand towards you. Now the motion of moving your thumb up is the sign for how. How, and then you just point to whoever you're talking to. You. How are you? Or how are all of you? Okay, last one is, what is your name? And like I said, grammar is different in sign. So you're going to say your name what? So you say your, then you take 2 fingers and tap it together twice, name, and then what? Your name what? All right, thanks for doing that with me. I hope that next time you see someone who is deaf or using sign language, that you will not be afraid to go up and sign with them. It really will show them that you respect them and that you want to build a connection. Okay, backing up a little bit, do you guys remember feeling confused at the beginning? Well, by remembering these 3 things, we can help make it so people in the deaf community don't feel this way all the time. Number 1, deafness is not a disability, just a difference. 2, deaf culture is misunderstood, and if we learn about it, we can raise awareness. And 3, learning sign language can help show respect and build connections. Thank you.
Thank you, Presley. Next up, we have Christian Bingham. Christian is a freshman, and he is going into video production to become a movie director with a specialization in action movies. Today, he's going to talk about a problem all of you, I think, have faced, doom scrolling. Take your power back.
Many people fear the robot apocalypse, when technology will one day rise up and enslave mankind. I would argue that this has already happened. Now, I'm not talking about artificial intelligence. Rather, I believe that our new masters are the supercomputers in our pockets. Let me explain. A Morning Consult survey found that 53% of Gen Z engages in what is known as doom scrolling. Additionally, according to the World Health Organization, 1 in 10 of these young people show addiction-like symptoms, similar to those of a drug addict when it comes to their social media usage. Now, this is a cycle that can be broken. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the what, why, and how of doom scrolling, what it is, why we do it, and how to overcome it. Let's get into it. So, what is doom scrolling? During the COVID-19 pandemic, the term doom scrolling emerged to describe the habit of scrolling through apps such as Instagram and TikTok. The word doom scrolling comes in part from the feeling that you get when you do it. Spending hours online bombarding yourself with content and information tends to lead to a feeling of impending doom. But this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how doom scrolling affects your mental health. Meet Dr. Judson Brewer, a neuroscientist at Brown University. His research has found that doom scrolling is heavily linked to chronic anxiety. Also, a study done by the National Library of Medicine found higher depression rates and higher rates of stress in individuals who scroll versus those who don't. Let me tell you a story. Meet my grandfather, D. In March of this year, he suffered a fall and got brain damage. At that time, he moved in with our family, and I dropped everything. It became my primary responsibility to take care of him. And then, in June, he passed away. I was left alone with no responsibility. I didn't have a job at the time. I wasn't going to school, and I didn't have a lot of friends. I felt lost and hopeless and confused. I turned to scrolling as an outlet. Now, I was never much of a doom scroller. I grew up in a household that didn't allow social media. But in this time of grief and confusion, I gave in. I hoped to find a distraction in scrolling for the many negative feelings that I was having. But instead, they compounded. I was faced with negativity online, opinions, facts, and lies that only made me feel worse and more isolated than ever. Doom scrolling is destroying our mental health. But if this is the case, why do we do it? Well, ironically, studies have found that the most common reason that we scroll is actually to reduce anxiety. Picture this. Think back to the last time you were on the bus or another awkward social situation. Look around in your mind. Are the people around you talking to one another, or are they all staring at their phones? Now, there's actually science behind why we do this. The American Psychological Association found that scrolling on your phone releases small bursts of dopamine in your brain that help to reduce anxiety in the short term. These small bursts of dopamine also help to cure boredom, the second reason that we scroll. However, the trick with scrolling is that it only gives you enough dopamine to keep you engaged, not actually enough to help. And in the long term, it's actually detrimental. This leads to the third reason that we scroll. We just can't stop. We have become addicted to our phones. The companies behind these applications create carefully crafted algorithms specifically designed to monitor what you watch and feed you more of it, to keep you scrolling. So how do we break this cycle? Remember Dr. Brewer? He gives us 3 steps that you can take to stop scrolling. First, recognize the urge to scroll. Then, mindfully acknowledge how scrolling actually increases tension instead of relieves it. And finally, replace scrolling with something better. Blue Cross Blue Shield lists a number of things on their website that you can do instead of scrolling on your phone. They include reading a book, meditating, or building a puzzle. I would add going for a walk to relieve anxiety, or playing a game with a friend or family member to get that same burst of dopamine. Some people argue that social media brings us together, and this should be true. However, remember the bus. Social media didn't really make us social then, did it? No. Instead, it isolated us, separated us from the people that matter most. Now you might be asking, so what? In this digital age, why does it matter if I spend my spare time scrolling on my phone? Let me share with you a statistic. The average person spends 6 hours and 38 minutes every single day of their lives staring at a screen in their hand. Imagine for a moment if you instead spent almost 7 hours every day practicing guitar, or learning a new language, or sign language, or simply making memories with the people that you love, because you don't know how much time you have with them. You have the power and the time to do extraordinary things every single day. Don't give that away. Don't be a slave to your technology. Take your power back. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Oh, sorry, thank you, Christian. Next up is John. John Murdoch is a freshman here at Weber State University, and he is passionate about helping people understand that we can all do great things, no matter our circumstances. So please help me welcome John Murdoch to give his speech, "It's Always Been Darkest Before It Goes Completely Black."
It is always darkest before it goes completely black has become a saying that most of us, if not all of us, have come to learn and experience through living our lives. However, the real saying goes as follows. It is always darkest right before the dawn. In this contrast, I want to weave the story of hope. And even though it feels like this mental darkness inside of you is completely overwhelming and overpowering, the light is there. I want you to be able to understand that the dawn is rising, that darkness is fading, and you are stronger than you think you are. Mental adversity and struggle aren't just poetic or symbolic, but they are very real. They are tangible. They are waking up completely and utterly exhausted, feeling the weight of the world upon your shoulders, and having to show up every single day pretending that everything is okay, when on the inside you are in so much pain, you've become numb to absolutely everything around you. Now understand that this is more normal than you would believe. In a study done by the American Council on Education, they found that only 38% of college students in the academic year of 2023 to 2024 reported positive mental health, whereas 10 years ago, 51% reported positive mental health. That is staggering. And I won't lie to you, I was in that 38% for about a week. And that's being generous, to be honest. Because the reality that I have lived with is one filled with anxiety, depression, PTSD, and suicide. And in a couple of weeks, it'll be a year since I was in the hospital for suicide. That is the reality I have lived my entire life. I've been suicidal since I was 11. I thought everybody was. I thought everybody was so anxiously scared of everything and everyone around them, and so depressed and disappointed about themselves that there was no point in trying. Thankfully, a good family friend who's a clinical psychologist offered to have me take a couple tests to see where I could best get help. And after reviewing these results, he discovered that if I were to walk into a room of 100 random people, the chances of me having the highest levels of anxiety and depression were 100%. It doesn't come close. That's how I've lived my life. And like I said earlier, I thought everybody else was living that way too. How shocked I was to find out that I was on the wrong side of that scale, the painful side of that scale. And to those of you who relate to that, I need you to know you are not alone. Because I have been where you are. And honestly, I'm probably still there. But the hardest pill I have had to come to swallow is understanding that hope isn't just a feeling, but a decision. For the longest time, I thought that hope were these big, grand gestures or scenes from a movie where there's just a big light bulb moment and my life magically changes. That is not the case. Hope is doing the small and simple things to make your day 1% better. It's taking that thing that you love to do and adding it to your routine, even though you might feel completely overwhelmed and busy. Take 5 to 10 minutes to yourself. Or that's going to have a conversation with the person that makes you feel seen and loved, no matter what you are going through. Or that is learning a new hobby. Whatever it is, you need to consistently choose it. And you need to consistently choose yourself. Because as hope is built, you will build momentum. And as you build momentum, you will come to understand that anxiety and depression literally alter the way you perceive the world around you. Those people that are ominously staring at you in the crowd and have you absolutely terrified and you're shaking in every part of your body aren't out to get you. And that depression that is telling you that your words will never mean anything, if it impacts one person, that's a win for me. It's probably going to be myself, to be honest. But that's the key. You have to find your victories. Because the one thing that I have discovered about hope is that when you consistently choose it, it becomes awfully stubborn. And it is very hard to lose that momentum. Understand that as you consistently choose hope, you will win your fight. That darkness will not last. You aren't done. And your worth is more than you will ever be able to comprehend. Do not believe the lies and the deception that happen in your head, because those simply aren't true. What you can do with your life is endless. You have infinite possibilities. I would have been starstruck, jaw-dropped, flabbergasted, you use whatever word you want to use, if you told me a year ago, even 3 months ago, that I would be standing here today. Because at the beginning of this semester, I did not choose to fight for myself. I let my depression keep me in bed far too long. I let my anxiety tell me that I'll never be good enough and there's no point in trying. And call it divine intervention, call it what you will. I was able to find that strength to show up and fight for myself. And that's what I want each and every one of you to choose today. How are you going to choose yourself? If you're on a diet and you're really craving that treat, take it off tonight. You have my word. Go do it. Enjoy yourself because you deserve it. It is always darkest before it goes completely black is a complete and utter lie. And I hope that every single one of you will choose to ignore that darkness because the dawn is rising and you have every ounce of strength to see it through and to see the light. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next up, we have Alyssa Song. Alyssa is a junior in her third year of college, but her first year here at Weber State. And she is passionate about addressing misinformation. Please join me in welcoming Alyssa Song to give her speech, Don't Make Your Bed Immediately After Waking Up.
Let me start with a question. Do you make your bed immediately after waking up? Raise your hand if you do that. Yes, many people do that, right? Many people believe it is a good habit. Especially in China, my parents always told me to do that. When I was young, my mom always shouted, Elisa, hurry up, make your bed immediately. She believed a tidy bed meant disciplined, and a good morning start meant a more productive day. So even if I was half asleep, I quickly folded my blanket to make her happy. But one day, I read an article that completely changed my mind. Hello everyone, I'm here to tell you that making your bed immediately is not good for your house. The problem is inside your bed. While we sleep, our body produces heat and sweat. We also shed thousands of dead skin cells. This creates a warm, slightly humid environment, which sounds cozy for us, but it is also the perfect environment for tiny organisms. These organisms are called dust mice. Dust mice are extremely small bugs, which we cannot see with our eyes. They live inside mattresses, pillows, and blankets. Although they don't bite us, they feed on our dead skin, and their waste can cause allergies, asthma, itchy skin, coughing, or sneezing. So, if you wake up in the morning and find red rashes on your body, or start coughing for no reason, it might be bug waste causing trouble. These symptoms may keep you from sleeping well throughout the night, thereby leading to a decline in your learning efficiency. So, the problem is not the bug itself, it's what they leave behind. And the numbers are shocking. According to Ohio State University, a mattress can contain up to 10 million dust mites. And Medical News Today says, humans shed about 1.5 grams of dead skin every day. It is enough to feed millions of mice. And according to American Lung Association, roughly 4 out of 5 homes in the United States have dust mite allergens in at least one bed. That means, while we are sleeping, we are basically feeding an army of microscopic roommates. And that's not just mice, it's bacteria too. The University of Arizona proved something unbelievable. A mattress has 10 times more bacteria than a toilet seat. We think that toilet seats are dirty, so we often clean it. But most people almost never clean their mattress. Sweat, body oil, dead skin cells trapped inside your mattress. So even if your mattress looks clean, it might not be. So what happens if we make our bed immediately? If we make our bed too fast, we trap moisture, heat, bacteria, dust mites inside your mattress. Instead of airing them out, we protect them. That is to say, making your bed immediately is actually helping dust mites survive. But here comes the good news. Science has a solution. Kingston University found that dust mites died when exposed to sunlight and fresh air. And Sleep Foundation recommends that we should wait about 30 to 60 minutes before making our bed so it can breathe. Also, reduce the symptoms if you have allergies, asthma, itchy skin, coughing, or sneezing. And you can sleep better and improve your learning efficiency. So not rushing to make your bed isn't lazy. It's actually the healthier choice. Now, my healthier morning routine looks like this. First, I wake up and open the window. Second, I pull my blanket back. Third, I let sunlight and fresh air do its job. Fourth, I brush my teeth and eat breakfast. Finally, before going to school, I make my bed. Now, my bed smells fresher, feels cleaner, and I know it's healthier. Sometimes, my mom still says, "Elisa, go to make your bed right now." And I reply, "Mom, I'm not being lazy, I'm letting science work." In conclusion, today we learned that our beds are full of dust mites and bacteria. A mattress can be dirtier than a toilet seat. So if we make our bed immediately, we are actually helping dust mites survive. So wait about 30 to 60 minutes before making our bed is cleaner and healthier. So tomorrow morning, don't rush to make your bed immediately. Remember, you are not lazy, you are scientific. Thank you.
I think that's good news for everyone. All right, next up, we have Letalia Tuyaki. Letalia is a sophomore, and tonight she is going to invite you all to reframe something that you fear greatly so that that fear cannot stop you from doing what brings you joy. Please join me in welcoming Letalia Tuyaki to give her speech. This is a typo in the program, failing forward, not falling forward, failing forward.
What if I told you success is built on a pile of failures? Walt Disney was fired from his first job for lacking creativity. Thomas Edison failed more than 1,000 times trying to create the light bulb. Michael Jordan, he was cut from his high school basketball team. Each of them failed, yet instead of quitting, they each used their failures to fuel their future successes. Today, I'm going to challenge the popular beliefs that failure is something to be ashamed of, or that it is the opposite of success. Every single one of us has failed at something, whether big or small. Failure is universal, yet most of us treat it like it is the worst possible outcome. I have learned that failure does not end your story, it refines it. Failure is not the opposite of success, rather it is the driving force behind it. Today, I'm going to prove that failure builds the mental toughness that success requires, that it both ignites motivation and creativity, and finally, that it provides us with lessons that no amount of success could ever teach us. According to the English Oxford Advanced Dictionary, added in 1894, failure is defined as the lack of success in achieving a goal. However, I think that this definition misses something crucial. Failure is not the end of achievement, but rather it is part of the process that leads to it. Why? Because success rarely ever builds strength, but failure always does. When we fail, we are forced to confront our weaknesses. When we fail, we face a choice: give up or adapt. This moment, this decision, is what builds resilience. And resilience, that's what separates achievers from quitters. According to a book written by Ronnie and Phillips in 2021, they had found that students who actually experienced early academic failure were more likely to develop a greater sense of persistence and problem-solving skills. In plain terms, it basically means that failure does not break us, it builds us. Once failure builds that inner strength, it then ignites both motivation and innovation. Motivation often comes because we feel urgency, but that feeling can then become our fuel. Michael Jordan, in a Nike commercial in 1997 titled "Maybe It's My Fault," once said, "I have failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." He was cut from his high school basketball team, yet instead of quitting, he trained harder than ever. He turned his rejection and his failures into one of the most legendary careers in sports history. Now, beyond motivation, failure also brings innovation. Some of the world's greatest discoveries came from failures. The Post-it note, a failed experiment to try to create a Post-it, a strong adhesive. Penicillin, that was discovered when Alexander Fleming's experiment went wrong and failed. These mistakes changed the world. If failure were truly the opposite of success, creativity would not exist. When we fail, we learn from our mistakes, and from that, we learn what does not work. And without that, we would never learn what truly does. Beyond motivation and innovation, failure also offers us something that success just can't give us, and that is wisdom. When success often hides our flaws, but failure exposes all of them. And that is a great thing for every single one of us. Failure forces us to see what needs to be changed, and that process of reflecting, readjusting, and trying again is what leads to lasting achievement. Thomas Edison did not just fail once. He failed more than 10,000 times trying to create the light bulb. When asked about it, he had simply said, "I have not failed. I have simply just found 10,000 ways that did not work." That is not failure. That is progress. Failure reminds us that we need to learn patience and humility. While success often inflates our egos, failure is what grounds us. We are learning to always be accessible to learning again and to being okay to fail. In a Harvard Business Review study written by Ramsey and others, they had found that entrepreneurs who had failed in their first ventures were actually more likely to succeed in their future ones. Not because they had suddenly become luckier or they would become luckier, but because their failures had taught them what not to do. Their lessons from their failures had then built the foundation for their future successes. So, why do we continue to fear failure when it has given us so many irreplaceable gifts? Maybe it is not failure itself, but the way that we have defined it. Failure is not the enemy of success. Rather, it is the driving force behind it. Failure builds resilience. Failure drives both innovation and motivation. And failure provides us with lessons that no amount of effortless success could ever teach us. The hard truth is that success without failure is simply just luck. But success built on failure, that is earned. Earlier, I shared what Oxford Dictionary has defined as failure for the past 140 years. But let me redefine that for you today. Failure is the temporary misalignment between effort and outcome, a moment of feedback, not finality. So the next time you fail, do not fear it, do not hide it. Embrace it, learn from it, use it. Because every time you fail, it is not a step backwards, but a small movement forward to something incredible. Thank you.
Thank you, Leitalia. Next up, we have Juliana Rodriguez, who is a junior here at Weber State University. She's a pre-law student majoring in philosophy and with a minor in legal studies, and is planning on becoming an immigration attorney. Please join me in welcoming Juliana to give her speech, The Uncertain Future of DACA Recipients.
Step into these shoes for a moment. You grew up in this country. It is your home. You went to school here, you made friends here, you built your entire life here. Then reality sets in and you realize that on paper, you don't fully belong. This is the reality for hundreds of thousands of young people living under a policy called DACA, which stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. DACA was created in 2012 by the Obama administration, and it was made to protect certain undocumented individuals that were brought here as children, allowing them to live, work, and study in the only country most of them have ever known. My close family friend is one of them. Due to our current political climate, their identity is going to remain unknown for safety reasons. They arrived to the United States when they were just 3 years old, and later went on to work full-time to pay for their college tuition because most scholarships and other financial aid were unavailable to them due to their legal status. Nonetheless, they went on to earn their master's degree where they graduated at the top of their program. And today, they work in the public school system. They contribute to their community in any way they can. They pay taxes towards things they will never be able to access. And they teach American children. Still, this family friend lives with the constant fear of knowing everything they have worked towards could be taken away at any given moment. To understand why this issue matters, we first have to understand the different challenges DACA recipients face. DACA recipients must meet a strict list of requirements in order to even qualify. They must have arrived here before the age of 16, lived in the United States since 2007, have absolutely no criminal history, be in school, have graduated or obtained a GED, and have the ability to pay $500 to $600 every 2 years to renew their legal status so they can remain here. According to the Migration Policy Institute, an organization recognized for its accurate data, currently there are over 500,000 people living in the United States that depend on DACA. Many of them are teachers, nurses, engineers, while others are parents raising American-born children. Collectively, this group contributes billions of dollars in taxes, and ending DACA would result in over $40 billion in lost revenue over the next decade. But the financial impact is only part of this big story. DACA recipients face a deep kind of emotional uncertainty. According to the Journal of Ethnic and Migration Studies, the instability of their protections leads these individuals to have anxiety, depression, and ongoing stress for entire families. Of course, there are people who don't agree with DACA. Many believe that it opens the door for criminals and invites people to take advantage of the system. But these fears are simply not based in reality. DACA recipients have to pass a strict background check every 2 years, and any sort of criminal history found automatically disqualifies them. Others argue that they will rely on government assistance, even though DACA recipients are legally barred from accessing federal benefits such as Medicaid, food stamps, and financial aid, despite paying millions of dollars in taxes into these programs. These concerns, of course, come from a desire for order, which is completely understandable, but ultimately, what DACA asks for is for fairness, for individuals who had no choice in coming here as children and who have proven
through years of education and work that they belong. Even with all this, citizenship is still not an option for these individuals. Currently, they can live, work, and study here legally, but they cannot vote, they cannot travel freely, and they cannot apply to citizenship no matter how long they have lived here. This is the issue that needs to be addressed. Providing a pathway to citizenship would allow these individuals to have the stability, the fairness, and the ability to contribute to a country they have always called home. Beyond that, it would also strengthen our economy. According to the Center for American Progress, a policy research organization, they state that allowing these individuals to become citizens would add over $1 trillion to the US economy over the course of 10 years through increased productivity and spending power. It would also help address labor shortages in critical fields like nursing, teaching, and technology, where many of them already work. Beyond economics, it would increase civic participation and help reinforce our national security by bringing more people fully into the legal system. Additionally, it would grow trust within our government institutions, which ultimately benefits everyone, not just DACA recipients. Now, I want you to imagine how different this country would look if these individuals could live without fear and continue contributing to this country. Picture two possible futures. In one, DACA ends. Thousands and thousands of lives are disrupted. Families are separated. Classrooms lose teachers. Hospitals lose nurses, and local economies lose vital workers. Trust within our government institutions would then fade, and fear would replace stability. In another, Congress passes a pathway to citizenship, and now these individuals can invest confidently into their futures and into the future of this country. Trust within our government institutions would then grow. When we grant these individuals citizenship, we're not giving them special treatment. We're recognizing their humanity and their contributions to this country. The kind of future we choose says a lot about the country we want to be, and it's time that we take action. We can take action by voting for leaders who support immigration reform and correcting misinformation when we hear it. DACA recipients, like my close family friend, live here, they study here, and they work here. They are American in every way, except on paper. Change begins with awareness, and it's time that our laws recognize that truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliana. And to all the other finalists, let's give them all another round of applause for their excellent work. Next up, we are going to present all the finalists with their honorariums. So to do that, I need Mark Halverson and Anne Bailaus to come to the stage so we can do so. Oh, yes. We will have our interim president, Dr. Leslie Durham, do so. All right. I'll read each of the finalists' names, and if you guys can give them one more round of applause as we do so, I'd appreciate it. So first up, Presley Fuchs. You guys could applaud longer, which would be helpful. And next up, Christian Bingham. Next, another round of applause for John Murdoch. Next, Alyssa Song. Next, Leitalia Tuyaki. And finally, a big round of applause for Juliana Rodriguez. And next, we are going to present our Freedom Through Rhetoric Award. This year's recipient is Allison Barlow Hess. I'm going to tell you guys a bit about her long and storied and impressive career, and then we'll have some folks come back to the stage. I think, wait, I forgot. Bear with me. All right. So Allison dedicated her professional life to working and teaching in the field of communication. So she began her career at Weber State University in 1992 as an adjunct professor, having spent 12 years as a reporter for KSL TV. In 97, the Department of Communication offered her a full-time faculty position. And in addition to teaching print and electronic media, PR, editing, and visual communication, she advised students working at KWCR and the Signpost. Under her watch, the Signpost earned top accolades from the National Society of Professional Journalists and the Utah Press Association. Allison was a longtime board member of the Utah chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists, serving 2 years as vice chair and 2 years as chair. For 6 years, she penned monthly newspaper column for the Standard Examiner. She also served as secretary of the Davis County Democrats for 5 years and continues to canvass for local candidates. In 2010, Allison switched gears to become our university's public relations director, where she was heavily involved in planning and securing media coverage for major university events, including the Dream 125 Capitol campaign and the inauguration of 2 presidents. She retired after helping the university through the difficult days of safely educating students during the pandemic. She now spends time traveling, reading, and connecting with family and friends. Please join me in celebrating Allison's commitment to making the world a better place through language.
Thank you so much. It's quite an honor to be here tonight, being selected by colleagues and friends, and it's so great to see all of you. It was unexpected, and I do feel very grateful. But tonight is a celebration about rhetoric, and we have gathered to listen to and pay tribute to outstanding and articulate students who have given me great hope as tomorrow's leaders. And so tonight I have learned and am committed to studying more sign language. And I am going to stop doom scrolling, which is what I spend a lot of time doing. And John, where's John? Somewhere. Anyway, John, you gave me hope, and I am reminded that thank you. And I need to focus on that. And of course, I learned that I am never going to make my bed again. In fact, I may throw out my bed and get an entirely new bed because, seriously. I could list my failures for you. They're high and deep, but instead I'm going to call them things that I learned from, so they are now successes. And finally, of course, without a doubt, I support DACA and those who are seeking that path to remain here in the United States succeeding. So the things I have learned tonight from you have been delightful. And the other delight of tonight, I was sitting right up front, and I got to meet our new president, so that's delightful. And sit next to one of my good friends. But really the delight of tonight was looking behind me, just directly behind me, at the faculty, the teachers who helped get you onto this stage, because as they watched you, they radiated joy, and they were so proud of the students up here and proud of all of you in this room. And so watching them be proud of you was exciting for me too. But in doing this tonight, in being here together, we have witnessed the essential, sometimes fragile, but always extraordinary freedom of speech, which was guaranteed to us in the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights, and which allows us to both speak and to listen to others to hear their ideas. Freedom of speech is not merely an abstract principle or a lofty goal. It is at the core of democracy, and it is always under attack in ways that ironically threaten democracy. On Tuesday of this week, a couple of days ago, I returned from Atlanta, Georgia, where I had the chance to meet a new grandson and spend Thanksgiving, and that was awesome. But as part of that, we took a little detour trip and went to Savannah, Georgia. And it was on my bucket list. And as we were walking down the river walk, and I can highly recommend it, you can put it on your bucket list, it was beautiful. There was this gorgeous monument created out of bronze in respect and honor to the soldiers who served during World War II, and it listed all of the soldiers who died from Chatham County, Georgia in that war. And then to the side on the ground was a plaque, and on it was written the freedoms that those soldiers died to defend and allow us to enjoy. And as I stood there and got chills up and down, I read, freedom from fear and want, freedom of speech and religion. For me, it was a timely and moving reminder of what we have historically valued in this country. Freedom of speech allowed me the privilege of working as a journalist and teaching journalists and communicators for my entire career. Early in my tenure at Weber State, I began advising the Signpost. And what I didn't know about running a newspaper could have filled an entire edition of the newspaper. But I learned a lot, and it was a great opportunity. But the second edition of the Signpost that first summer was our first lawsuit. And you can imagine how I felt. A student sports writer had written a column talking about a man who she didn't identify, who was in biker shorts at the gym, interacting with women who were trying to work out at the gym. So our sports columnist didn't identify him, but wrote a column and said, when people go to the gym, they want to work out, and they don't want to be bothered by people in short biker shorts. Well, apparently, without identifying him, he recognized himself and called and threatened to sue us. And as I say, I mean, this was all new to me in print. I'd worked in broadcast, but I had not worked in print, and I was nervous. So I called, fortunately, a wonderful person who was a longtime attorney who represented journalists, and explained the situation, asked him what he thought. And he said, "Tell him to get a life." And a longer pair of shorts. So I was thrilled and thankful for the First Amendment and its protection of freedom of speech that gives columnists, including students, the right to comment on issues of the day that concern them. I called that moment was a reminder of how important that right is that we enjoy every day. Rhetoric, the art of shaping language and ideas, has always been my passion. After 4 years as a high school debater, I was drawn to journalism and its credo to use the power of the media to give voice to the voiceless, to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I liked hearing and presenting both sides of the story to give readers and viewers good information to make informed decisions. Freedom of speech is not easy. It requires us to defend expression not just for those with whom we agree, but also for those whose words challenge, unsettle, or even offend us. We need to listen as we did tonight and learn as we did tonight from those who have different ideas, who belong to a different culture, have different life experiences, in order to understand, empathize, and find a better path forward together. No place is more important to do that than here at a university. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, evolution of democracy is not possible if we are not prepared to hear the other side. Our commitment to dialogue, to hearing the other side, creates those spaces. I am heartened each time I see a courageous act of expression, especially in the face of adversity. The writer Salman Rushdie reminds us free speech is the whole thing, the whole ballgame. Free speech is life itself. To see someone speak up when silence would be safer and easier is to witness freedom in action, the very spirit that this award celebrates. When I was chair for a few years of the Society of Professional Journalists, one of my responsibilities was to testify before the Utah legislature, which is a nerve-wracking experience, kind of like being here tonight in front of all these professional communicators is. But it took all of my courage to stand up and speak. But they were thinking of creating free speech zones at the Utah State Capitol, which sounds interesting, but then you have to ask the question, what are all the other zones? Protecting free speech, especially as a watchdog of those in power, is a solemn responsibility. Freedom through rhetoric is not only the domain of media, courts, and governments, it lives in the everyday. The student who asks the teacher or institution a brave question, the neighbor who speaks up on behalf of fellow citizens, the leader who listens and then changes course. Each of us, every single day, has the power to exercise and protect this freedom. Receiving this award, I am reminded of the trust we must keep with one another, the trust that allows us to speak differently, to disagree boldly, and to seek understanding. We know that freedom of speech is under threat, that polarization and outrage threaten to drown out real dialogue. But there is hope in the simple act of conversation. In every honest exchange, every listening ear, every thoughtful challenge. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression, and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media regardless of frontiers. Let that remain our shared challenge and responsibility. I humbly accept this award in appreciation, but on behalf of everyone who champions freedom of speech. Thank you for entrusting me with this recognition, for supporting dialogue, and for believing in the timeless, world-changing power of rhetoric. Thank you.
And next up, we invite Mark Halverson, Vice President of Administrative Services, to say a few words here, nearing the end of the evening. Let's give him a round of applause, please.
I'll be super quick. I know a lot of you have been standing, but I couldn't pass up an opportunity to talk about Allison, someone that has been by my side for the last 15 years and taught me how to stand where I'm standing and say the words that I'm saying, and how not to succumb to my anxiety, to stumble and say the wrong things, or not be afraid to stand here and say it. And I thought long and hard when I found out she was getting this well-deserved award about what made Allison so special. And as I sat down there and listened to the speech before, it became very obvious, as all of you poured your heart out and showed a little piece of yourself, that Allison was able to do that every day for 15 years. She believed in what the institution was doing, Weber State University, in the classroom. She gave the university a voice and was able to share that voice with people that needed it, that were seeking that needed the confidence to stand and to do what we saw today. She loved the university. She loved the students at the university. And everything she did came through in what she said, in how she shaped it, and the voice she gave the university. And she had a lot of power to give that voice to the university. And I saw that from you students today. I saw that. Thank you for everything, for opening your chest and showing us your heart. Because you know what? If you were insincere, if you weren't passionate about it, it would have come across. But because you were genuine and you showed us a little piece of yourself, it came across as very genuine. It came across with power, and it moved people in this room. And Allison, you've been able to do that for 15 years, to be able to take the everyday, to take the drama that surrounds a university, that surrounds the politics, the faculty, the staff, and boil it down to its essence and be able to communicate it back and communicate it so effectively that I just want to say thank you. And this honorific is so well deserved, and your authenticity and your passion has inspired me and makes me proud to come and do what I do every day, and to be able to help transform lives, and to maybe be brave enough to share a little piece of myself one day. So again, join me in appreciating Allison for everything she's done for the university and for this well-honored award.
And while Allison comes back to the stage for our final ritual that we do every year, I just want to do one quick thing and point attention to someone who does not want attention to be called to him. Mr. Brent Warnock, right there in the middle. Wave that hand, yeah, right there. He's the person behind this event who wrangles all of us into positions, selects the selection committee, gets everybody in lines. And I know he would not like me to do this, but I think it's important to honor the work that he does on behalf of such excellent students. So our tradition here is to do the Weber Speaks anthem. Allison will be reading the black text, and then we ask that all of us respond kind of back, bring our voices into this event, responding with Weber Speaks, kind of with increasing intensity. So by the third repetition, people across campus should be able to hear us, should they still be here.
Across campus, across the entire community. But I think to really make this work, all of you who've been sitting so comfortably while everybody else stood, we should all stand together, right, to do this anthem. And it gets louder as we go. But that doesn't mean you have to start, quiet with a whisper. So, when an answer to a problem is needed, Weber Speaks. Whenever conflict or justice demand resolution, Weber Speaks. Should fear threaten to silence the voice of freedom, Weber Speaks. Very nice.
Thank you and good night.